Let's go over what you're going to do in the simulation to turn in your work. All right, so when you are looking at Canvas and you're looking at the assignment on Canvas, you just click on that link to open up a new tab, load up the simulation. So we'll just give it a second and let it load. And once that's ready to go, you'll see all these options that you have on here. So you can go through all these two simulations or your assignment, which will be the game. So if you click on the game and select that, it'll load up this page. So there's 4 different activities to do on this one. Make sure that you do all of them because your grade will be based on these 4. You're getting 5 points for every star on this. There's 20 stars, so it's a total of 100 points. And when you're ready to turn it in, all you have to do is take a screenshot of your results. So once these are all finished, you get 5 stars on everything. What you want to do is that you open up this menu in the bottom right, and this will show your name. So it's very important that you have your name on this so I know who is taking the screenshot. And then remember that to take the screenshot, you just need 2 keys on your keyboard. You just need to press the control key and the window switcher key, which is above number 6. You press them both at the same time and it will take your screenshot just like this. So make sure that on your results page, you can see all 4 boxes in this. Your name is displayed on the right side, and then you'll use control and window switcher to take your screenshot. So that is saved to your folder, and finally, to turn it in, you go back to the Canvas assignment, and you look at the top and look for the blue Submit Assignment button. All right, next it'll open up this box, and you choose File. It loads your file browser. And then you select the screenshot that you just took. So here's that last screenshot that I took. It's selected on there, screenshot with time, and then you just click on Submit Assignment. The page will reload, and it'll tell you that you turned it in. Now let's go look at the simulations so you know what you're doing in each one. So the way that this looks on this page, you have these 2 options. You can build an atom or you can build the symbols. So let's see each one so you know what you have. So you'll start just on this page and you have 3 basic ingredients on this. You have buckets of protons, neutrons, and electrons. And you can click and drag them to your diagram to build different molecules. So you can open up these boxes and they'll tell you more information about whatever it is that you're building. Up here at the top, you know what element you're making based on the number of protons that you have. So with 1 proton, you're making hydrogen. If you were to add another one, you're making helium, and it's showing you where that is on the periodic table. In this next box, we have the net charge. So when you're building ions, it's also telling you what their charges are. So remember that protons have a positive charge. Since I have 2 protons, I will have a positive 2 charge. If I wanted to balance that out and take it from being an ion into a neutrally charged atom, I can just take electrons. Remember, these are negative charges, and you can see on here that my charges start pairing up. So with 1 electron, I have a charge of +1. With 2 electrons, I get a neutral charge, a 0 charge. And then that also goes for the mass of whatever it is you're building. So here I have the mass number. Right now it's just 2 from my 2 protons. If I were to add a neutron, notice that my charge didn't change, but my mass went from 2 to 3. So I can add another neutron, and again, the mass will go into 4, but my number on the charge doesn't change. And up on the top left, you can see a summary of all the particles that you've put in, and you can see how they match up. So you have 1 proton and 1 electron, 2 proton, 2 electrons. You can also see 2 neutrons to go with all those. And then if you were to add 1 more, again, you can see you have 3 protons, 3 neutrons that are not matching up with any protons or electrons. So that's a very useful way of telling exactly what you have. Now, let's look at the second simulation that we can have, which shows us the chemical symbol and certain information that we get inside of that box. So let's go ahead and look at that. So again, same basic tools that you have on this. We have buckets of protons, neutrons, and electrons. You can click and drag them to your diagram to start building atomic models. What's different on this one is that we get a symbol. Again, we get the chemical symbol for each of these elements, and we're also being told some information about it. So this is a little bit different than the ones we were looking at in the notes, so let me go ahead and explain these. That in the top left, we will have the mass number of our atom. In the bottom left, we have the atomic number, and in the top right we have the charge of it. So what we can see here is that, again, if you just add one proton in, we have hydrogen, which has an atomic number of 1, a mass of 1, and a charge of positive 1. If we were to add a second proton, we can see that we change into helium with an atomic number of 2, a mass of 2, and a charge of plus 2. Now, if you start adding in electrons, we are going to see this charge start to go down because it's being canceled out by the positive protons. So if we add that first proton, we just went from plus 2 into plus 1. And if we were to add a second electron to completely match every proton we have gone into a 0 charge. We have a neutrally charged atom. All right, so what's next is the mass. So we just have 2 protons giving us a mass of 2 atomic mass units. If I were to add in my neutrons, notice that my mass just went up to 3. If I add a second neutron, it will go up to 4. But notice that the atomic number in the bottom left didn't change at all. Right? I can even add a third proton, and again, my atomic number did not change until I add another proton on this. That's when it finally goes up to 3. Again, my mass of this would be 3 protons and 3 neutrons for a total of 6. And right now I have a positive 1 charge because I have 1 more proton than I do with the electrons. If I added 1 more electron, then you can see that I go back into being a neutral atom, and I get this label up here too. It still makes a neutral atom. And finally, let's get into the game. So when you select the game on this, you see how there's 4 different activities. They'll be asking you different things. So let's just go over a few of these so you know what you're doing in these. So in this first game, you're given a description of the element, and you need to find this on the periodic table. The easiest way to do this is that we have protons on here. This is the atomic number, and so you just count 5 places in to the periodic table. You'll start from the top right and go right across. So hydrogen is 1, helium is 2. Next, you start on the next line over on the left side. 3 is lithium, 4 beryllium, and 5 is boron. Since this is in the 5th place, I'll go ahead and select this. And now it's asking me a new question. Is it a neutral atom or an ion? And remember, this comes from the balance between protons and electrons. So in this one, because I have 5 protons and I have 5 electrons, they're evenly matched. They're going to cancel each other out evenly. And so we'll have a neutral atom. So if I go ahead and check this, I get that it is the correct answer. All right, so now going back to what I had, this next game, all right, you're given this diagram of an atom. You're shown each individual particle, and it'll ask you a question on this side. So in this question, it's asking me, what is the total charge of this atom? So now just make sure you consider the charged particles, that's the protons in the nucleus, and the electrons in the orbit around it. So now here I have 1 proton and I have 2 electrons. I have more electrons than I do protons by 1, so this will give me a charge of -1. The next question, it'll change it up a little bit, but it's a lot of the things that we already saw before, right? So we know it's asking for the mass number. Remember, the mass is the protons and the neutrons added together. So in this question, you'll add your protons and your neutrons, completely ignore the electrons when you're dealing with the mass. Now, going to the next one over, in this one, you're given the chemical symbol, and you're asked to draw information from it. Or you're given the model, and you put the information into the symbol. So now remember that in the bottom left, you have the atomic number. This is the number of protons, and this one is 1, 2. That matches up. The charge is 0 in the top right. So we know that we have 2 protons and 2 electrons, which cancel each other out, so you get a 0 charge. And finally, in the top left, you get the atomic mass, which is the protons and neutrons added together. So in this one, 2 protons and 1 neutron. 2 plus 1 is 3. So you'll check on that, and it gives you the correct answer. And this next question, again, we're given the model, and it's asking for the atomic number in the bottom left. This will just be the number of protons over in your model, so you'll put that in and check your answer. And in this last game, the mystery one, it's really pulling questions from the other 3 that you just pulled. So this is just more of the summary game. You're using all the examples that you've had practice with. So just make sure that you take care of all these games. Make sure that you don't forget to take a screenshot when you're done. If you have any questions, if you need help, just let me know and we'll work it out.